All right, hi everybody, Mrs. Green here. We are in lesson 4.09 and we're talking about plant defenses today, aka we're talking about the plant's immune system, essentially. Adjectives, two of them today. The first one says I can describe some internal plant defenses and mechanisms of defensive action. And the second is I can describe external plant defenses and be able to recognize them in new examples. So there are two types of plant defenses. The first one is physical, and the second one is chemical plant defenses. Physical is anything that's external, and chemical is anything that is internal. Again, this is basically the plant's immune system. How does the plant protect itself? We're going to start by talking about the physical defenses of a plant. Now, structural adaptations are, in fact, a physical defense. Remember, adaptation is any type of trait that's going to help an organism survive and ultimately reproduce, because the goal is to get your genes out there. There's four that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about spines, prickles, thorns, and then mimic behaviors. So let's start with spines. Now, when I say spines, most people are often going to think of a cacti or a cactus. Cactus have these big, brutal spines on them that if you ever have been pricked by one, it hurts. It's not fun. Not something I recommend that you do. Now, photosynthesis does not happen in the spine of the plant of the cactus. Again, spines are modified leaves, but they do not do photosynthesis. The photosynthesis is actually done in the trunks, the green parts of the cacti. The spines are not necessarily green. They're kind of a light yellowish color. Sometimes they're green, but no photosynthesis is happening there. It's happening in the trunk of the plant. And cacti are located in dry environments, so animals want to eat the plant because the cacti store a lot of water within their trunks. It's a very water-based plant. And so the spines are there to prevent the animal from eating the cactus. It's there to protect it. Next, we have prickles. Now, prickles are like spines, but they're not as strong or as big as spines. They're actually much smaller and not nearly as strong as a spine. So often when people think about prickles, they're often going to think about a raspberry bush. And again, they help protect against invaders. So again, prickles, just like spines, are modified leaves, but photosynthesis does not happen in those prickles. All right. Thorns. Thorns are found on the branches of trees and plants. A good example of this would be a rose bush, acacia tree. This is an acacia tree, and this is an example of some of the spines, some of the thorns that are on an acacia tree. And then lastly, the mimic behavior. Mimic behaviors are really, really cool. So mimic behavior is interesting because they have a coding in their DNA that is going to present traits that mimic that of another organism. And that could be another plant or it can be another animal. For example, we have the passion flower. So here's an example of a passion flower, and it's like a bush. You have leaves on it. And what's really important or interesting about these leaves is you will notice that it's got these yellow dots on the leaves. What these yellow dots are mimicking are eggs of a butterfly. So these are not actual butterfly eggs, but it mimics. So it does this yellow coloring on its leaf to mimic that of a butterfly egg. So when a butterfly flies by, it's going to go, oh, that passion flower leaf already has eggs on it. I don't want to lay my eggs there with another group. I'm going to go find another one or another tree that I can lay my eggs on. Because you don't want the butterfly to lay their eggs on the leaves, because what happens is the larvae hatch, the larvae are hungry, and they eat the leaf and eat all of the leaves on the plant, essentially, leaving that plant in not able to do photosynthesis and then ultimately dying or barely surviving. So these don't want the butterflies on them, and so they mimic those egg spots to reduce the amount of butterflies laying eggs on them. So kind of a pretty cool behavior. All right, let's talk about chemical adaptations. So the three are painful symptoms to touch or to eat, fatal symptoms, aka death, and communication. Let's talk about painful symptoms. We do have these here in Michigan. Painful symptoms are actually caused by a chemical in the plant when you touch that plant or you eat the plant. Some examples here in Michigan, which I'm hoping a lot of you, well, not I hope that you've never experienced, but I'm hoping that you're familiar with it, would be poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac. Poison ivy is very prevalent here in Michigan, and if you've ever had poison ivy, it's very not fun. You become very itchy. Sometimes that itch is painful, but it's not fun. Poison oak is bad too. So not something I wish upon you guys, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Next, we have fatal, aka death. And so what we mean by this is that the plant produces chemicals that when you eat the plant, or sometimes when you touch it, it makes you very sick and it causes you to die. So the oleander tree is a great example of it. Nightshade. I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Nightmare Before Christmas. Sally gives her boss the nightshade. Granted, it didn't kill him because he's already dead per se, but you get my point. Nightshade can kill you. Foxglove, pokeweed, and rhubarb. And yes, we do eat rhubarb, but what we eat in rhubarb is we eat the stems. If we were to eat the leaves, that would make us very sick and could, in fact, kill you. And then lastly, communication. Now, communication is pretty cool. Communication is not done through talking. It's actually done by sending out chemicals that alert other plants of what's going on. So here's a great example of chemical communication happening is with the acacia tree. So you're living in the African Sahara, basically, the Sahara Desert, the grasslands of Africa, and these insects are coming to eat the leaves. So one tree might get the insects landing on it and eating it. And so to alert the rest of the trees in the area, to alert the rest of the community, that tree that's being attacked by the insects, that's being eaten up by the insect, is going to release a gas. Those trees are going to take in that gas, and then they are going to prepare for the attack of the insects. And that attack, for example, with the acacia tree, would be to produce tannins into the leaves of the tree so that when the insects land on their tree and they go to eat the leaves taste bad, or the leaves could be toxic and cause the insects to be sick or die when they eat those leaves. So kind of a cool example of plants communicating. Even though they're not physically talking to each other, they're sending chemical signals. All right, so that's it for today. Very short recording. So objectives again, I can describe some internal plant defenses and mechanisms of defensive actions. And then 2, I can describe external plant defenses and be able to recognize them. So again, slides are available for you in the course content. Take good notes. And if you have questions, feel free to email me. Bye, everybody.